Previously on 30 in 30, we headed to New Orleans, saw around the stadium, met some ghosts, times were had. It was time to head to the Lonestar State, Texas. Houston, to be specific. Finally time to leave the heat of Florida and New Orleans, and it was over 100 degrees. Before heading to Houston, I actually got a call from the Texans while on the tarmac. They wanted to know when I was coming into town. It was that day. We made it work. I was put in contact with Nina Jackson, Director of Marketing and PR for NRG Park. We set up a time and off we were to H-Town. That's Houston, by the way. And it was in Houston that we were reunited with an old friend. Pastor from St. Jude, a Houston native. He picked us up from the airport and we were back together again.
Pastor, we're reunited. We're
together again, baby!
Let's go.
Welcome to Texas!
He even got Johnny a Dr. Pepper, his favorite, and a water for me, because I only drink water. And beer. America. John, a friend of Pastor and also a Packers fan, was kind enough to host us and we set up base. And also we did laundry, because the last few days were very sweaty. We then headed to NRG and Nina and Allie were kind enough to take us around. And while there wasn't any football operations going on, they were actually setting up for their second biggest event, the rodeo. So we couldn't show the field, but oh man, what a stadium. It was when I was down in the bowl that I commented that it didn't look like there was a bad seat in the house. And we tested this theory. Not a bad seat in the house. Okay. And we were correct. And also sweaty. We could never escape the sweat. It became very clear that this was not just a football stadium, but a hub for all things entertainment. Whether it was concerts or, of course, the rodeo, a staple in Houston, which drew over 2.5 million people this past year. NRG Stadium and the surrounding area host over 500 events a year. So Houston, yeah, they know how to party.
It's Johnny. Cam reception. Johnny, get out of the shot, Johnny. Johnny, can you get out of the... Johnny, you can't go in there. You can't...
Go Texans. Yes, sir, in the back, yes.
What's the greatest place you've ever been to?
The greatest place I've ever been to? My home. In my bed. That's been it. Anyone else? Any other questions? Great, thank you. We were able to get some glimpses of the visitors' locker room, press room, and even discovered some little Easter eggs. Like the club level having different bars in each corner, like the Spur bar. And you can always tell where you're going because the carpet changes when you're near a certain bar. Hence the Spurs on the carpet. After the tour, we headed back to John's, knocked out some work for the Miami video, and it was time to head to the fan event. It was held at Papacito's Cantina. And Houston, well, they came out. It was such a unique event. Not only was this my first time in Texas, but oh boy, did I learn a lot of hand signs. And it was a bit of a culture shock. But everyone was patient. And I'm pretty sure I did them right. I even got myself a cowboy hat. Or a Texans hat. Cowboys are tomorrow. Put it up! Put it up! Put it up! It's the most manly I've ever felt. We were able to get out of the heat and talk for a few hours, and I had a chance to talk with Texans fans about their team. One thing in particular that struck me was Jay, who had an amazing Texans jacket. One of the nicest jackets I've seen on this entire trip of any fan base. He told me that while all these other teams had an illustrious and long history, the Texans, well, they were still making theirs.
Being a part of the Texans culture, while it's still growing, it's a part of just being a part of this big family and being part of this big community, you know? We're still coming out despite things that are being said about us, despite us being the little brother of Texas. You know, a lot of people would like to say that we're like not that big of a franchise, but constantly we are growing and overachieving. And I think that this year, this family is going to rebuild, especially with D'Amico Ryans coming in. We're starting to really feed into that culture, feed into that family community. So I think the Texans just represent us as Houston and us as overachievers.
The Texans were giving us back our favorite thing. I was at the last Oilers game in '96, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. The McNairs gave us back what we love, and the Texans have to be our team. We have to love them.
There's been a lot of ups and downs, Watson era, and now we're going into a new era of a new quarterback. So there's only hope. It can only go up. A lot of optimism now, especially with trading up to get Will Anderson. It can only go up from here, man.
And that was the feeling in Houston. They were waiting and ready to make some history. The Texans, they took some big swings in the offseason, getting their new head coach, former Texans player D'Amico Ryans, again, history, and drafting C.J. Stroud, the guy who they hope will be their franchise QB. And that wasn't all. They then traded back up and snagged Will Anderson at number 3. There was an excitement about this team, especially for this season. The Texans were ready, and so were the fans. And now, all we need to do is wait to see what kind of history they're about to make. That night, we had to head to Dallas, our first night flight.
We got a 10 o'clock flight. Pastor is here. We're going to Dallas.
Big D.
Houston, it's been a pleasure. We're on to Dallas. Pastor, we'll see you in LA, baby. Let's go.
The land of the angels.
Here's Johnny.
H-Town, it's been real.
The H stands for Houston.
Myself a chicken burrito. Nobody likes a messy burrito.
We made it into the airport, drove to the hotel, and uploaded the video around 12:30, and finally got some sleep. Because as they say, everything is bigger in Texas. And Dallas, well, that was about to be one of our biggest days yet.
Grossi! 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 Grossi!
Let's go. Let's go. A reminder that there are 2 ways to donate to St. Jude, either on every video through the donate button on YouTube or in the link in the description. Both go to the same place. I appreciate you all.